What's up, y'all? This is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm, and we just happen to be located in western North Carolina. You know, the very same place where that hurricane that just came through? Remember all those areas where I said were broken and I was going to fix them? Well, today we start. All right, so I got a couple of boxes here, as you can see. And this is part of the solution I was talking about. This is called the Anker SOLIX F3800 portable power station. And then back there, we got foldable, collapsible solar panels. Why is that a big deal? A lot of the units out there that are basically solar generators are 120 volt. And as a journeyman electrician for 27 years in the IBEW, I can tell you, and most of you have probably figured it out if you haven't already, that there are items, critical items in your house that have to run on 240 volts. The most important of them being, in my view, how you get your water, because most of those pumps that are running your well are probably running on 240 volt, and it ain't going to happen on 120. So let's get this thing unboxed and let's talk about what we got. Well, right off the bat, man, I got to tell you, it's kind of space aged and neat looking, and it's got a very, very small footprint. But I don't know what kind of, just on the face of it, it makes me feel like, man, does this thing have enough oomph? Right off the bat, y'all, I'm going to tell you some things I dig already. Number one, it's got casters on the front, okay? And you can lock them down, or lock them up rather, and keep this thing stable in one point. Dig this. You got this little handle here that you can pull up, and you just made this thing very, very, very portable. I'm digging that. Wow. But it's about 135 pounds, I think, which is comparable to one that I have that's 120 volts. So it's really not that bad. And then, oh shoot, I forgot to show you this part. So check this out. You got a handle on this end. And then if you had to lift it up over something, you got a handle right here that folds out. So you can lift it up on, have a person on each end to work it out. So they pretty much thought of everything in terms of ergonomics. Okay. Let's talk about what else is here. And this is what's cool about it. I love an item that basically has everything right there without you even having to think about it, without even looking at the instructions, okay? So we got an on and off button. We got a car socket. You can charge your phones. You can charge all your devices. Here's what I really dig, and this is what made it critical to me. You got a 50 amp outlet. And you got your twist lock over here, and this is going to be standard on most of your regular generators out there. So if you have something already on your house that you're running your gasoline generators or whatever that run 240, well, it's no big deal to plug it into here. Now, obviously, I wouldn't put this thing outside, so you're gonna want to have means to do it inside. But I'm going to have to do it outside today, and we'll cover that in the future. Okay. We got some of these guys that are UPS on this side. That means uninterrupted power supply on this side of your 120 volt. And then these are your regular ones. And then of course you got your overcurrent stuff. Here's another thing I dig. On this side, I love how everything is like compartmentalized. It's in the right spot. This is how you charge it with your AC or your alternating current that comes from your house. And then these go to your solar panels. And then I didn't get them, but I wish now that maybe I might, but I don't know. We'll see when I take this thing for the test drive. Is that right over here, you have an expandable batteries that you can stack right up on top of here. So this footprint is narrow as all get out. So I'm really, really digging that. I'll be honest with you. I am digging everything so far that I see about it, but I don't know that this thing's going to function right. So we'll give that the old college try. And like I said, if it ain't doing what I need it to do, then back to the drawing board. Now let's go take a look at this solar panel. Man, really, really solid. I have other solar panels that basically break down like this, but I'll tell you, this thing is about as slick as it gets. So you can stand it up, and it has little kickstands on the back, just like so. Okay, so you can pull them out, and then you can expand this thing, and then you put the kickstand out. And it has this little strap on it, depending on what angle you need, depending on when the sun, obviously if it's in the middle of summer, the sun's going to be higher in the sky, so you're going to angle it back more. But if it's in the winter like now, the sun's going to be lower in the sky, and so we're going to angle it down a little bit more. So just like so, I'm digging what I see so far. So, and then here's the really cool part. So, they basically have these connectors at the very end, and they make it about as dummy proof as you're ever going to find. There's a female and a male, and this will run from here all the way back to the unit. Let me show you where that'll go. So this thing, they sent it, and it was about 85% power. So we'll go ahead and put the AC on it. We'll stretch out a cord, which means basically we're going to use this one right here, and we're going to stretch out a cord and get this bad boy powered up. All right, so it's about 20 minutes later, and I'm actually shocked at how quick this thing got up to 100%. And quiet. I mean, absolutely quiet. I mean, I have another unit that's only 120 volt output, and this thing, I mean, it'll be tripping breakers, the whole 9 yards. So I'm already impressed with that. So let's just once again go over what we got here. Okay, you can charge this thing with your car. You can charge it with the solar. I would show you that right now, but the wind's picked up, and of course we don't have any sunlight anyway. So I'm not sure what good it was going to do anyway in this environment. You've been given every possible connector to charge this thing. In fact, the panels I showed you are 400 watt, and this thing has a capacity of 2,400 watts, and that's what these are for. So you can take a number of them. They even give you a schematic to where you don't have to be an electrician. You don't have to be anybody that knows anything about electricity. If you can follow directions, and they make it dummy proof, where it is nearly impossible to mess this up, I promise you. So if anybody's kind of put off by, oh man, I don't know if I can do that, trust me, anybody can do this. Even gave you some extension cables. Another thing they do, they even have expandable batteries that fit on top of it, which I think is really, really cool, because it's not taking up any more floor space. If you're in limited, tight circumstances, the batteries situate themselves on top of here. If there's one regret, it's that I didn't get the expandable batteries, but I can always go back to that. And the way those connect in is basically through this port right here. It fits from here, goes out. If there was any design flaw in this thing that I can see, I don't like how the cable has to, you know, take up a little more room, but that's just being nitpicky on my part. And then of course your solar stuff, all of your charging elements go in on this side, and then they have an overcurrent or an overcharge protection. So if that's tripped, you know what's up. On the front, you got your, you know, you can charge your phones and all that kind of good stuff. But I mean, it's sleek, it's professional looking. I like everything about it, but at the end of the day, man, if this thing ain't doing what I need it to do, I just wasted some money, nephew. So, yeah. So far, so good. So now let's get down to brass tacks. This thing's charged up to 100. Like I said, you can charge it from your car. You can charge it from the solar panels. You can charge it using AC. And it charges in record time based on some of the other units I've used in the past. So now it's time to take this sucker, put it around back, and we're going to give it a real load, because here's what remember. We're going to go back to where we started in this thing. I could give you all the specs on this thing. The biggest #1 problem you're going to have on most homesteads is worrying about your water. And it runs on 240 volts. This thing is 240 volts. It does it all. And that's one of the great, wonderful things about how this thing operates. So you got 50 and a 30 over here, and then you got your 20 amps over here. And then of course your overcurrent knobs right there. And of course you get it where you want. You can lock the casters in place. I'm not going to belabor it. Now it's time to give it the old college try. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I haven't yet set things up on the inside. Let me point out another thing too. I haven't yet set things up to where I can put this thing on the inside. The way things are set up in my house is that it's been set up to where I would put a, you know, an old-fashioned generator out there, whether it's running on gasoline or propane or any of those things. And that's basically outside. So I'm going to wheel this thing around back. I'm going to plug it in, and we're going to put it under load, and I'm going to see if I can't blow this thing right up off the wheels. Just kidding. It's too expensive for all that. Well, it's really, in terms of price, honestly, this thing is about as comparable as you're ever going to find. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't handle the smoke test, then it's back to the drawing board. Let's go give it a shot. This is how we're going to feed it. Basically got my twist lock up in here, just like that. Okay, it's the same one that fits on your generator. That's handy. They didn't come up with anything weird trying to reinvent the wheel. Now we're going to go inside, we're going to turn off all the power, then we're going to run the water and see how much of this house this thing can handle. So now it's time to take it for the old college try. And basically, can't show y'all all this part because, yeah, I got my reasons. But anyway, I'm going to turn off everything and then I'll hit the main breaker. Obviously, this thing isn't made to be outside, but this is how I got to do my test until I adapt things to make it work on the inside. So let's get it turned on. Okay, reading at 100%. Now let's turn our AC on. Now, I'm going to start bringing up things. First things first. Now, when you run your well pump or whatever, I mean, depending on its age or whatever the case, it's going to be pulling a whole lot. That is without a doubt the most important thing I needed to run. So, that's going to be what we test. And we'll start with the lights and then see what else we can put on it. We've basically run the water out of the system, so I know for sure I know the pump is going to run. That to me is the most critical thing that has to happen on the homestead. So when I turn this breaker on right here, if the lights go out, you'll know this thing tripped out there. So let's give it a shot. Okay, that's awesome. So I know right now, I'm looking at it, it's filling up the pump right now. I mean, it's filling up. Basically, it's charging the system right now with water. So I know that that pump is running. And there was a slight flicker in the lights, but that is not abnormal at all. So far, so good. Now let's see what else we can put on this system. Because think about it. If I find myself in a situation where I'm having to run this thing anyway, you should be load shedding. If you think you're going to, and if you're foolish enough to run your whole house and do all the things you normally do, you're going to run your electric range, your electric dryer. You want to see that, you want to run something down real quick, yeah, just run those things and see how long it lasts. But if you find yourself in a position of where you don't have commercial power, you want to be running the most critical items, okay? So that's where we are right now. Let's put on a freezer and see what happens. Okay. So far, so good. Another freezer. Another freezer. These are critical items for me. I can even hear the compressor going right now. Let's run another one. Okay. Let's turn on the fridge. So far, so good. These are the critical items for me. And then one more critical item is, you can see me, it's cold outside, okay? It's snowing. So we do have, in our house, we have basically a buck stove that heats the entire house. But the only thing on that needs to run is the fan. And it pulls almost absolutely nothing. So that's of no consequence to me. Let's run another freezer. And then 2 more freezers here and see what happens. We'll let the compressor kind of get going. And then 1 more. Now, am I going to put on the water heater? Absolutely not. I mean, unless it's on gas. But I mean, you got to understand, you only have so much power in there before you're going to have to, I mean, so far I'm impressed. I mean, it's running 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 8 freezers and a fridge going, and those are the critical items to me. Now let's take another look out there and see what we're looking at. 98%. And like I said, I got the freezers and the fridges going, all of them right now. And it tells me I can go 2.7 hours. That's what this number over here tells you. I'm pulling 1179 watts. I'm pretty impressed so far. All right, so we'll recapitulate here in a minute. The thing is, I want you to see is that this thing, from a tactical standpoint, good night. Okay, you find yourself in a scenario where the worst should happen. Do I want to be making a whole bunch of noise with a diesel generator or gasoline or anything else? Nobody knows what's going on. As long as I maintain light discipline, things are looking pretty good for me. But you're going to load shed. And if I had the expandable batteries on here right now, I don't even want to start thinking about how far I could go running the loads that I'm currently running. We'll go back in here, we'll take everything apart, and we'll come back, we'll recapitulate and talk about what I like and dislike. All right, coming full circle right now. Remember, permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. That's what we're all about. And from a preparedness angle, like I said, from a tactical point of view, this is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to get something like this, not to mention the fact that I know that it can handle all the current. Remember, a lot of your motors are going to run at 125% of its rated current, and possibly a lot more depending on what that item is. But this thing can handle it. I mean, I'm blown away. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, there might be some expansion batteries in my future. And for the price point, I mean, they got them on sale right now. The price point is fantastic. And with Billy 200, and people are always asking, do you get paid for this? No, I'm not being paid for this. I mean, but I did work out a deal. And like always, nobody ever reaches out. Well, they reach out to me. A lot of folks do, but the answer is often no. I only reach out to the people that have products that I know work. And I try to get discount codes, but no, I do not aggrandize myself in any way. I don't make any money on this discount code, so this is just for you. So Billy 200 will knock $200 off the price of this thing. Are there bigger units out there? Sure. Maybe I'll talk about those in the future. Almost certainly will. But if you got to get it done around the house, man, and if you're worried from a tactical standpoint, as I always am, given my background, this thing is a winner. Absolutely sleek, has a small footprint, stackable, very mobile, has casters on the front. You can anchor it down. I mean, I got no complaints. I really don't. Not so far. I mean, have I used it long term? No, I just broke it out of the box. But I basically I put this thing under some serious load right now, and there's no worse for wear. So I look forward to giving more. Well, what I'd really like to do in the future is get the expandable batteries and put on top of here and just see how long I can run things on. But it's also a cool thing that, let's say you're running on gasoline or propane or whatever else on another diesel, or on another generator system. This will give you time to do maintenance on the other systems, whether it's changing the oil, which you ought to do pretty doggone often, or, you know, whatever repairs you may need to do, or you just don't need the rest of the world knowing that you got power when maybe everybody else doesn't. I mean, look at the world around you right now, folks. When I said I was going to focus more on preparedness because that is totally in my wheelhouse, that's exactly what I meant. And as you can see, I'm deadly serious. Well, hopefully this was a blessing to you. Go check them out. You heard me talk about them in the podcast last night, and I think you're going to be pretty pleased if you go do it. So like I said, Billy 200 will knock $200 off the already discounted price. Until next time, this is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm, where permaculture is my passion. And folks, this is part of it. We'll see you next time.